I get it, you're staring at a wall of options and you just don't want to throw a few $100s at something that ends up collecting dust in a closet. The fear of buying the wrong security system is real, especially when you have a house full of windows, a driveway that's practically a highway at night, and maybe a little side business that needs extra eyes on the floor. If you're wondering whether a 32-channel 4K NVR with dome cameras is actually worth the investment for your situation, keep listening. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of setup this Lorex bundle is built for. You're basically getting a central NVR that can handle up to 32 streams, each coming from an 8-megapixel dome camera that can swivel, tilt, and actually listen in on what's happening. That's a lot of hardware, so you need a use case that can actually take advantage of it. Think of a 2-story home with a front porch, back patio, garage, and a detached workshop, or a small office where you want to keep an eye on the reception area, the loading dock, and the conference rooms all at once. If you're only looking to watch the front door, a single 1080p camera would probably do the job, and you'd save a ton of money. What makes this system stand out in the crowded 4K arena is the combination of color night vision and power delivery. Most security cameras go monochrome when the lights go out, which makes it harder to identify a person's clothing or a vehicle's license plate. Lorex's color night vision keeps the image in full hue even in low light, so when a delivery driver pulls up after dark you can actually see the shirt they're wearing. In practice, that means you can tell if it's the neighbor's kid or a stranger without waiting for the next morning's footage. Autofocus on these dome cameras is another practical benefit. When you're mounting a camera in a corner that looks at both the driveway and the side yard, you don't want to be constantly tweaking the focus knob every few weeks as foliage grows or you rearrange the garden. The lenses lock onto a clear image automatically, and because they're 8MP you get that crisp detail without having to manually fine-tune. I've heard from installers that the focus holds steady even after a few months of exposure to rain and temperature swings, which is reassuring if you're not planning to climb the roof every season. Low light performance, aside from the color night vision, also relies on a fairly large sensor. In my own test, the cameras captured a clear view of a parked car's license plate from 10 feet away with just the street lamp on. That's the sort of detail that matters if you're trying to prove a break-in or simply confirm that a delivery driver actually dropped off a package. The built-in audio adds another layer. You can hear the click of a garage door opening or a conversation at the front gate, which is handy when you have a babysitter or a pet sitter and want to make sure everything's normal without having to be in the room. Now, ease of use is where the rubber meets the road for most buyers. Lorex's Fusion app ties the NVR to your phone, tablet, or computer, letting you pull up any of the 32 feeds with a tap. The interface is fairly clean, but there is a learning curve. When you first power up the NVR, you have to walk through a setup wizard that asks you to assign IP addresses, configure PO ports, and set recording schedules. For a tech-savvy hobbyist, that's a fun puzzle. For someone who just wants plug it in and forget it, it can feel a bit like setting up a mini-server. The menus are not overly deep, but the number of options can be intimidating the first time you open them. Battery confidence isn't really a factor here because the cameras run off PO. That simplifies wiring. You just need a single Ethernet cable per camera for both power and data. The included PO switch makes it a one-box job, but you still need to run the cables through walls or ceilings, which can be a DIY challenge unless you're comfortable with basic electrical work or you hire a professional. That said, once the cables are in place, you don't have to worry about dead batteries in the middle of winter. On the flip side, the sheer size of the system can be a drawback. 32 channels mean you're paying for a lot of capacity you might never use. The NVR itself is a slab of metal that sits in a closet or utility room, and the system's price point reflects that. If you're a renter or someone who only needs a few cameras, the cost doesn't justify the extra heads. Also, while Lorex cameras are known for decent reliability, the ecosystem isn't as open as some competitors. If you already own a mix of